My next guest is Mohammed Lana, a Paralympic athlete with an incredible story. Mohammed was born with a birth defect that left him without a right femur and tibia. Mohammed was born on the streets of Casablanca, but with a birth defect, he was bullied mercilessly by his peers. We talk about the resilience that his parents inspired in him to overcome the adversity and the challenges that he would have in his life. We talk about becoming a father, we talk about raising a family, we talk about parenting, but we also talk about the incredible challenges that he's gone through in his life. One of the things that blew me away with this interview is just how grateful Mohammed is for everything he's experienced in life. We talk about what it feels like to run for the very first time at 26 when he was given his first running leg. This is such an inspiring interview. If you're a sports person, an athlete, a parent, or anyone who wants a dose of inspiration and wants to look at life in a very different way, make sure you don't miss this episode with Mohammed. Mohammed Lana, welcome to the Warrior Academy podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I've been reading up about some of the incredible adventures you've been on, really inspiring stuff. And we're going to dive into that today. But for anyone who doesn't know who you are, could you just give us the top level? Who is Mohammed?
Yeah, Mohammed Lana, Paralympic athlete. I was born and raised in Casablanca, Morocco, with the birth defect. It's a very rare congenital condition. I'm missing some parts of my right leg, the hip sockets, the femur, and all that stuff. So it's not an amputation, but it's a birth defect that looks like an amputation. I grew up in the streets of Casablanca playing soccer like any other Moroccan. I met a lot of people on my way to where I am right now, talked to a lot of people, and adventure took me to Europe, where I lived for a couple of years, and then to the US, become a Paralympic athlete in 2016, and tried to go again for Tokyo, but didn't go as I wanted, and then I'm trying for one more time in Paris. So secured the qualification with the Team USA this time, and then we are heading to Paris in like 26 weeks. Yeah. And other than that, I'm a father, husband, have 3 children, and juggling job, full-time work, and family, and training, and try to make the best of the situation. This is in a nutshell, Mohammed.
Amazing. Wow, that's a great intro as well. I feel like you've covered so many accomplishments. You know, even 3 is amazing, right? And then to throw in there all the adventures you've had and what you managed to overcome, growing up in the streets of Casablanca to then becoming a Paralympic athlete. I've got down here a couple of your the key things that stood out to me on your bio. Right, I'm just going to quickly read them out. Sometimes I find it a bit annoying when people just read out some of the stuff I've done, because I'm like, there's a really good story behind that I want to tell, right? And everything you've done, I'm sure there's a podcast, an individual podcast on everything I'm about to say, right? But some of these really stood out to me, so let me just quickly read those out as well. So crossing the Atlas Mountain at 26, running your first marathon at 27. You swam across the Gibraltar Strait, raced across the Sahara Desert by foot in the Marathon des Sables. I've got a few friends who done Marathon des Sables, so I know that's pretty hardcore. But to do that with your in a sort of situation there as well, that's incredibly challenging. I'd love to talk about that because and then being the only adapted athlete to complete the Norseman Extreme Triathlon. So I want to hear about the Norseman Triathlon as well. Sounds it's in Scandinavia, right?
Yeah, it's in Norway. There's stories behind both these events. A Marathon des Sables is one of the hardest events I have ever done in my life until today. So for a lot of people, running is something natural. You grow up, you start running. For me, because I was born with the birth defect, I didn't grow up running. I used crutches. I had this uh, traditional leg that doesn't have a knee, so I wasn't really running. Uh, my first running leg, I had it when I was 26 years old, and I had to learn how to run at that age. And somehow, because I grew up in Morocco, there is Marathon des Sables. We see it every year in the news, like for the whole week. And I was always fascinated with this challenge, but I never thought that it's something that I want to do. But it's just the fact that every year I'm watching it, but it never crossed my mind that's something that I want to do, or I would try to do. And as soon as I got my first running leg, and I was so naive because I want to do this. I want to do the Marathon des Sables. And I was so naive because that race is very brutal. It's so hardcore, physically and mentally, like crazy. And so
the breakdown of Marathon des Sables, exactly. How many miles is it? And it's obviously over the Sahara Desert. How many days do you do it over?
So Marathon des Sables is 155 miles over 5 days. And but the challenge here is you have to carry all your food and your gear for the whole duration of the 5 days. So every day they provide a certain amount of water for you. There's checkpoints where you get a bottle of water and all that stuff. And if you take more, you get a penalty or something like that. And then there is a road book because a lot of time you are by yourself and you need to navigate the desert. And with the landmark and all that stuff, I got lost twice in that event. By the way,
If you get lost, you just add miles onto your trip. Like it's not just a case of we'll just quickly correct it. You might derail your whole race.
Yeah, I had to go back sometimes the route that you did. It was brutal. And also, I remember when I did it. Also, at the pace of the race is these two local people who are just walking on the side of their camel, and they were basically the pace of the race. If they pass you, you're out, basically. And so that was, and something that I didn't know about that race. I'm not a very music guy, but every morning, like around 7, 8 a.m., in the middle of nowhere, at the start, they are blasting AC/DC Highway to Hell. This year. And I didn't know that the group before, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy here. Once I got my running leg, I start running on it, and I say, I want to do this. And
so let's tell me about it. How old were you when you first got your running leg?
I was 26 years old.
So at 26, you had never had a running leg before. So you had never run before.
No. I tried with crutches, but it's not the same thing.
So what was it like at 26 years old to be given a running leg and then experience running for the first time?
So there is two things. The first thing is the first feeling when you start running and you feel that wind and like your arms. I don't have crutches or anything, and I'm going fast. And that sense of freedom that we take for granted every day. And a lot of people have that. So that's, for me, like, wow, this is cool. And then you do this like for a certain distance. And once you start going longer, then because I have a very complex disability, like I get a lot of blisters everywhere, like a lot of chafing. And we had to do a lot of work to build. So every leg, whether it's a walking leg, or running leg, or bike leg, there is one component that is custom to the limb, is made of carbon fiber. So you go to a prosthetist who custom that part to you. So he take a cast and build that socket, and then the component, whatever the blade or the knee or the foot, it's like a Lego that you add on to that custom part.
Right.
So that custom part where there is a lot of problem for my case, and we had to do a lot of trials, a lot of tests to get to a point where I can go for a long period of time without having a lot of chafing that can put me off running. So these are the two extreme side of me. Right. I want to run, but like after a certain time, you need to stop and let your body heal and then go again.
There's a couple of things there that really stand out to me. The first is that the way you spoke about experiencing that freedom for the first time. I can completely understand that. It's one of those things that people wouldn't really be able to relate to, right? Because a lot of people would just completely take for granted the fact that they can run. It's only until something's really taken away from you that you ever put any value to it, right? And so what a brilliant description, I think, of the experience, that feeling of the wind on your face, because that's you may not have felt before up until that point, right?
No, and even like not holding anything on my head, because I used to have
no crutches or it's a freedom experience, amazing, yeah. And then the other thing, I mean, was you strike me as the sort of guy who wants to push yourself quite hard, right? and so I've got a feeling that as soon as you got that running leg, you were like, as soon as you got used to it, you're like, right, what's next? What else can I do with this? And I imagine that then maybe put you in a position where you had to work with your body to stop the injuries and chafing and other problems start arising, right? Because now you could do too much.
Yeah. So that's that. Yeah. So I had to adjust to that and build slowly, and also my body to learn how to get used to. Like sometimes when you buy like a new running shoes or new shoes, sometimes you can get some chafing or something like that. But this is like in a bigger scale. So that's one side. So I had to train physically for this event, Marathon this out. And I'll be honest, this experience humbled me a lot because I underestimate that race quite a lot. I was just like, I'm eager. I want to do it. And there is so many challenges, like the physical aspect of that race. You need to train for 6 marathons that you need to do every day, roughly. And then the financial aspect, it's a race that is very expensive to get in. It costs a lot of money to get in, but also the running on the sand with the blade, because the blade is kind of narrow, and if you want to run on the sand with it, it's gonna sink in every time. So my wife is a mechanical engineer, and we love to play with this stuff. So we had to find a solution to this. Like we did a lot of, like in our kitchen, playing with plastic and heating up, trying to see, like literally go into Google, seeing like how the camel like go on the sand and all that stuff, how we can make the surface wider for the blade in a way that we can remove it, because it's not just sand. There is some section with rock, or there is desert, there is nothing. So it's something that we can add to the blade on and off very easily.
So you have to build the perfect bit of kit to actually withstand both the kind of deep sands as well as the rocky ground, and then of course the endurance, right? Because there's no good having something that's great but it's only good temporarily. It's gonna last like 150 miles or something.
Yes. And the third challenge in this one is so for me, because I don't have the hip socket up there, so my right side doesn't have any like power to swing the leg, so I couldn't use like a running knee. So you have the socket, you can add the knee to it to run with it, and you put the blade on the bottom, the C-shaped thing. And for my case, I didn't have the power, so I went with straight. We call it a straight pylon. So just the socket with the pylon and the blade. There is no knee. And the disadvantage of that is the clearance when you are running in off-road sitting. Like when you are running on a road or track or treadmill, it's flat surface. You know how much clearance you can give your leg to bring it forward. As for off-road, there's random rocks. There is like terrain is different, so the clearance need to be higher to not trip every time. So that's something that I underestimate the most. When I start race day, the first day, super excited, ready, my leg, the equipment, everything is good. And I start running. It felt good in the beginning, but every step I have to clear quite high. So I'm using my upper body to clear, to lift my running leg.
Trying to swing, use your body to swing the running leg over obstacles.
Yeah.
And
more than on a road surface, because surface is flat. I know, I gauge over time, you know how you can do that movement. When it's trail terrain, you don't know. It's like you need to clear higher, like 3 times much higher. So that's what caught me off guard. And like within 5K, I was in the back. Like turn around, I start seeing the camel.
Oh, and a camel. There's a camel.
Yeah. Yeah, I start seeing him like maybe 500 meters or something like that. And I just start crying like crazy. Like I didn't reach the first checkpoint. And the race director came to me and say, "Oh, you're brave, you tried, blah, blah, blah." He tried to console me, like the fact that you're here, it speaks to your character and all that stuff. And for me, I didn't want to hear that stuff. I came here, I want to do this race. Yeah. So luckily I brought with me like a pair of crutches that I was putting behind my backpack, just like a ninja, just in case like my running leg break or something like that. Because in 2013, I was new to running. I wasn't trusting it that much. So I pulled those crutches and I said, I just need a break until the first checkpoint. At least I need to have one stamp on, we have this card to check that you went through every checkpoint, that you didn't take like a shortcut or anything. So I went to the first checkpoint. It was a 10K. And I got the water, fill up. I turned around. This is the same distance. And I told myself, I'm going to go to the next checkpoint. So this is day 1. We have 4 checkpoints. So literally just playing it checkpoint by checkpoint. And I cried like for 5K when crying, because it's not just the humiliation, but also like there was so much work financially and so much work getting the leg and all that stuff. So I didn't want to let all these people who helped me down. So I'm going to push more for this. So, I kept doing it checkpoint by checkpoint. And I was basically the last one to finish that day. Wow. And you need to get to the camp and you need to make your food. Some people get early, like they will find they can make fire, make a warm meal or whatever. And for me, I went there. I literally like fall asleep right away. Like, boom.
No time to eat, just straight asleep.
Just sleep. I was my body was so exhausted. My back was hurting.
Your upper body, I mean, you're having to put so much more effort in. For every mile you're moving, it's like the whole body's about full body workout, right? Now you're using crutches.
Yes. And so the funny thing is, so in the Marathon des Sables, you will see in every night, like at the end of the day, you see people lining up at the medical tent because they all have blisters from the sand, because sands get inside your shoes. So you have this medical doctor trying to help these runners band-aid on their toes, whatever, on their feet. And for me, I went there. I had my left foot, and also my hands from the crutches. Like I was like there.
Everything. It's just bandages everywhere. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. So that was the first day, and then so I woke up the next morning, and literally like, you know what? Let's do it again. Checkpoint by checkpoint. Really? This is how I finished the whole marathon, like checkpoint by checkpoint. And there is some moment where you are by yourself, nobody, you don't see no one, and for miles and miles. And what is that thing when it's hot? Like, and you see like
mirage.
The mirage, like you see that like all the time. It's like, oh my God.
checkpoint and then
it's crazy. And we have this stage where it's 2 days, where it's a double marathon in 2 days. And basically, it's double marathon in a day and a half. And you get like a half day off. And at the end of that double marathon, they give you a free meal with the cold drink for the first time.
Okay.
This provided as a treat. And the crazy thing about that is you need to go through the whole night.
Right.
And I think that night was the most crazy, amazing night in my life. Because you're going through the dunes, you have the light, you have to read the road book, you don't want to get lost. And sometimes you just try to see other athletes ahead of you, like to see their path, to try to gauge and all that stuff. It's kind of scary.
How far everyone is, right? You might be able to see little lights in the distance in the dunes.
Yeah.
Their head, but ultimately you can't really see much around. You can see a meter in front of you because of your light, but perception and depth just goes, right?
Yeah, it goes totally. But at least there is that I'm kind of on the right path. If I can see lights, yes. And there is a moment where you don't see anything. And you get some relief when you see the light of the checkpoint, and you get the checkpoint, you get your water. Now you see, okay, I'm on the right path. And there is this thing that happened to me. And I swear to God, I don't know if it happened or I was hallucinating or whatever. And all of a sudden, like there is a dune going up and down, like, and when you go up and down in the desert, like, you don't see what's going on around you. Like, it's like mini mountains. And all of a sudden, this, I don't know, 5, 6 kids running around me, and they start asking me a question. I'm talking. I don't know if this is real or just like I'm dreaming.
Wow.
And like, and like, we're talking to them, and they're just there. The lights. You see the lights? I don't see any lights. Where is the lights? And look, they're farther. Just focus that direction. And like, yeah, I keep going that direction to the checkpoint. I hope they will read me. I feel like
they might play a trick with you, trying to send you the wrong direction.
I know, but yeah, that race. When I finished, I had nightmare of that race like for weeks after. Like I will like every night, like I'm lost in the desert or it
really
or
I guess for you to experience that, it's a form of PTSD because you put your body through so much trauma, and it's such a shock to the mind and the body to go through something. First of all, the human body isn't designed to do.
Yeah.
And second of all, the amount of effort and energy leading up to it, building up to it, and then the setbacks you experienced early on, and then the pain that you would have gone through. No doubt, it was profoundly life-changing experience, right?
Yeah. I will add to that also, I underestimate that. I underestimate. So I bear responsibility not preparing more. Maybe I should have taken more, like 2 more years of training. Right. I mean, I enjoyed it. At the end of the day, I learned a lot of lessons from there. Like sometimes it's not the end of the world. Just take your big challenge, whatever it's scaring you, break it down to small pieces. There's a lot of things that I learned from that race that still with me until today. Yeah, so that's
one step at a time. Right?
Yeah, but literally that was one step at a time, one checkpoint at a time. 5K by 10K. Yeah,
I hear that. I hear that so much through so many successful people, whether it's athletes or businesses or people go through difficult times. We might have this big idea of what it is we need to do, what we're doing, but ultimately, what do you need to do? What you need to do is just get up that dune. That's the only thing you need to think about. What do you need to do next? Get to that checkpoint. If you think about the big mission, sometimes it can just be so overwhelming. Yeah, people will get very overwhelmed by their busy day, and it's like, well, what do you have to do today? There's a list of 20 things. Okay, what do you have to do today? Just this one first thing. That's it, right? Just that one first thing. And if you do that, then it's what do you do next? So I think that's a really powerful lesson that's really relatable for everyone listening to this. You just focus on the first thing that you need to do, and don't try and focus on everything, because we've just got these primitive little minds that we can't cope with more than one thing, right? And if we try to, we get overwhelmed, and we find ways to procrastinate or give up or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So tell me about growing up in Casablanca. What was that like?
So Casablanca was, so rich. So my parents were very, very modest family. I mean, my dad, when he got married, he was living with his parents, where also had two other brothers with their wife and kids in the same like small apartment. So everybody's stuck in a room. So, when it was time for me for delivery, they just called the local midwife to come and help the delivery of the child. So the lady came and tried to help my mom for the delivery. And I started with travels because normally when the baby comes, like the first thing is the head comes out. But for me, it was my leg came first. So which make it more complicated. My left arm got stuck, and the midwife had to break my shoulder to bring me out and save my life. So that's crazy. Like it's not just born with birth defect, also like complication and all that stuff. So it was
I mean, that's a very difficult start to anyone's life, right? But
yeah,
I broke your shoulder as soon as you're born.
Yeah, I want to come back to this because it's very important. As a parent, my parent, this is the first child with disability and also broken shoulder, and everybody's watching you, and everybody's like, it was a difficult time, especially for my mom. But I think I would say I'm lucky that I was born in a household with a lot of faith. I think faith helped guide my parents. This is a gift from God. We take it and we take care of it, and this is what they did. So having the Islamic faith grounded in my parents' family and my household, that was very helpful. So because when I was growing up in elementary school and all this stuff, I discovered that a lot of families, when they have a kid or child with physical disability, back then in that society, it's considered that how to say this elegantly, you are not expecting anything from you, basically, even though you just have a physical disability. Just we're gonna take care of you. You don't have to study. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to work. We're going to take care of you. This is back then. I'm talking.
No expectation that you would do anything.
Exactly. That's in the 80s. And my parents, they just didn't accept that. They work very hard. My mom never went to school. She didn't know how to read or write. My dad was working full time as a taxi driver, but they worked very hard to make sure that, first of all, they didn't give me an exceptional treatment. They treat me like my other siblings who came later, my other 4 siblings, and punishment when it's punishment, no special treatment. And also they were very, very strict with me with education. And the reason behind that is I have a physical disability. This is the reason of my parents, especially my dad, that I can't do any physical work. Your only chance is to excel in education. That's his thinking. And this is the only chance for you. So they were very strict with that. And I'm very grateful that they did so, because I heard a lot of stories of kids like me, but they didn't have the chance to go to school. If you look at the statistics, I'm talking about the 80s and early 90s, people with physical disabilities, they don't even finish elementary school back then. So very low education rates within the people with disability. And we're not talking about intellectual disabilities. We're talking about physical, where there is nothing wrong with your brain. So that's on the other hand, I was very active. I want to play soccer. I want to play with the kids. I would always go out and play. And I played soccer almost every day. And, sometimes when you're playing with kids, If you lose a game or you do the wrong pass or something, kids may start calling you by your disability or by whatever. And I heard that a lot. There is this word for like somebody with disability, someone with disability, and they will call me with that. It's very known. And many times I went back home crying because it was too much, or like I didn't like it. And I remember, like, in 2 instances, my mom just like send me back. She didn't go to like defend me or like try to go to the parents of the child or anything, or take me inside. Okay, just come inside. No, go and fight for yourself. I don't care.
Wow.
So that's,
so this is really interesting, because that to me sounds like a cornerstone of your resilience. The fact that you didn't have someone save you. A lot of I work with a lot of people who go through bullying. We work with a lot of kids around the world, and we've had hundreds of kids transition through bullying. One of the big challenges we've got is parents overprotect their kids to the point where they don't let their kids experience uncomfortability, and they want to save them from things like bullying. So when a child goes through bullying, they'll remove their child immediately from the situation. And then, of course, the bullying just follows the child. You have to learn how to overcome that kind of victim mentality to a point where you can learn to stand up for yourself and have the courage to do that. And it sounds like this is what you're describing, right? So did you then go back to the bullies and you kind of stood up for yourself? You didn't tolerate it?
Yeah. So I had to sometimes go back and fight with other kids, and sometimes I go ignore it. I think the second instant where I think it resonates with me more, my mom told me again, like basically what she said, this is just word. Show me, what is it? I don't see it. Like, they are word. Once they are out, they just evaporate. Don't take care of that. Don't hold it, or don't make a value of that. Something like in this that
it's value on words. Words are just words. It's basically the value on them.
Yes. So basically, I think since that I start ignoring those words. So they don't do anything to me. Like, I don't care.
Oh, at this point.
Oh, it's like 6, 5. It's like that age. Like when you start, you go outside and just play with other kids.
Your mum sounds like a very wise woman. Because I also imagine she may not have shown it, but I bet that was devastating for her as well. To know that she's got a son with a disability, and she knows that for him to, for him to feel happiness and success in life, he's got to grow his own resilience. And the only way she can do that is from a very young age, send him back out there to go and fight the monsters on his own, right?
Yeah,
it takes so much courage. It takes so much courage for parents to do that, I think.
It's like a shot where it may be hard, it may hurt, but you build that immunity toward that bullying over time. And when it's physical, it's very obvious. I think parents need to pay attention to that and try to face it instead of hiding from it and running away, because overprotecting kids, it's not good. Kids are very resilient, are very smart, and they understand that, all right, I like, because I have 3 kids, and I know when they use their crying just to get away with things versus, this is the true thing. And so
rather than yeah,
they're very smart. Very smart.
Your experience of bullying lasted how many years? From the age of like 5 or 6 until when exactly?
It started until I would say 8. I mean, it continues. Like, people, like, throughout like childhood, like, people will call you until they become teenager, and throughout all these years. But I start to not pay attention to it. And also another aspect is, when I was 8, I joined this elementary school that has a lot of kids with physical disability, and that's another story, because this is where I learned about education. Like, basically, so this school was good in one aspect because I was around a lot of kids with physical disabilities, and it was amazing because you see all sorts of disabilities. We're all here, but it was like kind of a daycare system where parents just put their kids there for the day, and this is elementary school for 6 years. So it was good.
Was the education good there as well or not?
So the education on paper was there, but was not. We didn't learn anything, basically.
Right. But you had a community, but for you, the benefit was being around people who you felt shared the same challenges you experienced, right? And that was, for the first time, maybe that was your experience of feeling included.
Yes, it was really good. We would play, even though, because back then we had a lot of people with polio, because polio was still like very big in Africa, and a big part of the students had polio, but we would play soccer, and because I used crutches, they had to come up with a rule against me because I couldn't touch the soccer with the ball. I couldn't kick the ball with the crutches, and but they had 2 legs. Even though polio, sometimes you can walk with it. So there's a lot of negotiation going on.
There's a lot of complex rules, I can imagine, right? Try and make things fair.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. But later on, when I went from there to middle school and high school, I had to do a lot of catch up. It was very hard.
Yeah.
But bullying was throughout that. I mean, even when I was in my 20s, I would hear people say things, but for me, it doesn't do anything. People, they don't know. And sometimes it's ignorance. Sometimes like kids, like they say things, and it didn't bother me like very early on.
I think this is the best place to be when it comes to bullying, right? It's understanding that we don't have control over other people, but we don't have control over ourselves, and it's us who places the value and the meaning to words, and ultimately we have a decision when someone's bullying us to try to take on the negativity and live with that and build resentment, or just to watch it sail past and move on with your life. And I think obviously if you are someone who's likely to be targeted by bullying and negative people and so on, then you've got to learn very early on how to deal with that, right?
Yeah. Because even like when I start running or cycling in Morocco, sometimes like there is a period where I was doing a lot of mountain biking, and like random people that I don't know, they will see me like from their perspective, I'm suffering. I have this disability, I'm hurting myself, and they will say this comment that's just like so infuriating. But for me, I'm challenging myself. I'm enjoying mountain biking, or I'm enjoying running. But for them, you have this disability and you're hurting yourself, or you're suffering, like, and those words, like,
they would actually criticize you and say, "Look, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you putting yourself through this?"
Yes, I'd heard it like not once, like so many times, like in the mountains or in the city. No, so
I mean, I had a and I'm picturing where you're mountain biking as well. It's like I cycled across the Sahara Desert from Zahora into Marrakech, over the Anti-Atlas and over the Atlas Mountains. 5 kilometers over 3 days when I was like 17. With a group of friends and family. It was incredible. And so as you're telling me these stories, I'm picturing the same. I can kind of vividly picture, and some of them are really remote areas, right? And I can just imagine, you cycling past a lot of people, and they've never seen someone cycle like you're doing, and it's amazing how you manage to adapt and achieve that. When it comes to cycling, do you need any additional kit, or would you cycle just with one leg, and how would that work exactly?
Oh man, cycling it's a long story, also filled with a lot of lessons for me personally. So I always put this limitation that I need to have a special bike a special leg for cycling, a leg with the knee and all this stuff to be able to cycle with two legs. And also back then we didn't have the exposure to all the social media and all these people doing all this stuff around the world. We didn't know a lot of things. So I had this limitation. And I started cycling when I was 24, when I had my first prosthesis with the knee. So I started cycling then. And I thought, okay, that's good. I can cycle. And I start cycling. I start enjoying it. But then I discovered the cleats. This is simple. This is something that existed, I don't know how many years, and it was available back then in Morocco. And the cleats helps you like lock into the pedals and cycle. And I started using that with both legs. And once I started racing triathlon and start racing to qualify for the Paralympic Games, I start like learning about cycling with one leg. And then I saw a lot of people who like much faster and cycle with one leg. And then I had to switch to cycling with one leg using those special shoes. And I started laughing at myself, like all these years that I didn't cycle. And if I just went and found a pair of shoes and wore the one side and start cycling, I would be fine.
Yeah.
And waiting for this imaginary solution sometimes that block you from when you wait for that perfect thing that you happen to do something, that's a huge limitation to a lot of things in our lives.
I think it's relatable. People always wait for the perfect time. But then, just wait for this and then I'll be able to do it, or I'll wait for that and then I'll be able to go. It's fascinating to me, and there's never going to be a perfect time. When I used to fight professionally, I remember I took 3 or 4 trips to Thailand and I'd spend 3 months there training, and then I'd compete. And my third shot, every time I was getting injured before I could fight. And I remember the fourth time I think I was there. And, I'd been set up to fight this guy who was like a veteran fighter with like 30 or 40 fights. It was my first fight. It was a bit unfair, you could say, but I was pretty adamant to do it regardless. And I remember getting injured just before the fight. And it was like, oh no, it was my knee was injured, then my arm was injured. I remember speaking to my trainer at the time, and he was like, no one ever fights at 100%. Like this is the difference between a fighter and someone who's not. It's just going out there and fighting regardless of whether or not you feel like you're in peak condition. And I think that's a great way to understand life and to approach life. Right? You rarely do everything when you're at your peak. So if you're waiting for it, like be within that 10% range, you could be 90% and still your mindset can bring you up to that 100%. But if you just wait, you'll miss almost every opportunity you've got in life.
100%. That's exactly like a good way to see it. And the reality is it's never going to be 100%. That's never. So you need to do things with what you have and move on.
Yeah. Mohammed, before we spoke today and just earlier, you spoke about how you feel like life is coming full circle for you, right? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. So, so early on, I wanted to have a family. I want to get married and have children. And and sport also got in the way, but still I didn't want to miss out. I want to have children. That's, I think, for me, having a family is more. It's like there is nothing greater than having that. For me, this is personally, than any achievement in life. For me, that's for me. But I love sports. I want to keep going. I want to train. I will keep challenging myself. And I'm so grateful. I thank Allah every day. My wife that I met, she's been a huge supporter. It's been now 13 years that we know each other, and we got married right away, have children. And she's been supporting my athletic career like crazy. Like she's the one pushing me to go again for Norseman. She wanted to go. So I did it for her because she wanted to go again. With the first one, we missed the cutoff for the black t-shirt and we had to go again. Anyway.
To be honest, I hear that and I'm like, it sounds like that's why you got such a successful relationship, right? Because she understands you and your character and probably understands what makes you happy. And because she's able to give you the life you want with a family and kids and you know, committed relationship, while also saying to you, look, you need to go out there and do you know, you have to go and push yourself. Because I imagine that Mohammed, who doesn't do that and stays at home, there's a part of him that feel like he's missing it, right?
Yeah, so she knows me very well. So yeah, our first child has Down syndrome, so we knew that earlier. And I mean, for me, I was born with the birth defect. I know what it is, and for the parent, for the family, I knew it's gonna be okay. There is so many aspects that reassured me. The fact that, I mean, the first thing is my faith that it's gonna be okay. We don't control this. This is gift, and you take it, you take care of it. And also the fact that I was born with the birth defect myself. I was exposed to a lot of people, and I know it's going to be okay. You just need love, take care of your child, and it's going to be okay. And yeah, so for her, it's like, again, it's like when you get to those decisions, it's very, it's not easy situation for the parents. And especially for the mother, because she's the one carrying the baby. And do you want to be supportive? Do you want to give your opinion, but also like not force your opinion? So this is a conversation that goes between the couple that we need to say between the couples and do the talking honestly. And yeah, so we went through that phase and we said, we're going to keep the child. And Adam came and, even though I knew what to expect, I felt sad that I have my first child with Down syndrome, and I cried some moment and all that stuff. It was some moment of sadness that came, and but we went through it. And I have my child. He's now 12 years old. I just took him to swim practice earlier before coming here, and life is going on. We have 2 other children after that, so we have 2 boys and 1 girl. And I mean, regardless Down syndrome, having 3 children, I feel like this is my personal experience with kids. They came to your life because you are like, as a man or woman, you are in your 20s. You have a lot of energy, a lot of goal. You go, you find this job, you did this, you're powerful. And then you start settle, you find your partner or whatever, and then you start working. I say, okay, I'm settling. And then you have these kids. And then for me, the thing I see is persistent, and they are fighting for things, and they are like, no matter how many times you told them to not do something, they will keep doing it. And or like, I feel like they gave me that spark that sometimes you want to settle and you just want to ride the wave until like you retire or you die, whatever. But the way I see it is they give you the spark to find something else and keep challenging yourself and find something else to, like, you know, don't settle. Like, there is more to give in society. And for me, I just see this, like, especially from Adam with Down syndrome. Man, the persistent, like when he wants something, like, and like day after day, years, he's so strong. And for me, I see it like it's a reminder for us when you are in your late 30s, early 40s, like, no, do something, go be active, be healthy. Start a new project or start a new program, master program, do something. Because for me, I see that, they're like asking you questions that challenge you. They are showing you that I'm learning new things. And I mean, just see kids, how they learn itself, it's a good reminder to us as adults that you learn from your kids a lot that you don't know. So it's like for me,
kids are the best teachers, huh?
Yes.
I think it's amazing when you become a parent and you're raising your kids, and you can see you learn so much about yourself, and that, you know, what triggers you and what upsets you, and then where you do the work, and why is this stressing you out? And it's like, that's because I need to work on this or that, I like what you said about how they bring a spark to your life, which encourages you to carry on seeking more. And it's almost like they remind us that our job of growing as a human being isn't over yet.
It's not over yet, yeah.
That's what we need to do. We need to keep on growing, regardless of our age. We need to keep on learning, keep on expanding our minds and our body, and what we're capable of expands with that, right?
Yes. And with Adam, especially with Adam, because the way he like perceive things, or how he about doing things, it just amazes me every time. Sometimes you get so frustrated, you lose your mind, but when you like reflect upon it, and you think about it, this is a good thing. This is really good. There is something here to take for me as a person. Yeah. And for me, this is like, I'm 41 year old, coming close to 42, and I'm going for a Paralympic. There is a lot of challenges. Your body is like tired, and we just want to sit down after work and just relax, have a meal and chill. But you still have a workout to do. You still have time with your kids to spend. It was like, for me, my kids are my motivation of doing this, because this is something that I want to do, but like sometimes you talk yourself out. Okay, because you are at one age where you have a lot of power. You can make decisions. You can, I don't have to do this, or I have, it's not like early on where sometimes you are pressured to do this. But when you settle, you have your work, your comfort zone. You just want to ride that wave, and this is where I feel like a lot of things get lost. So I'm in a phase where I'm challenging myself a lot, trying to think about being a Paralympic athlete in a different way, recovery, nutrition, and all that stuff. And also try to have my kids and my family be part of this. When I go for a long run, they'll be with me on their bike, helping me, or doing their ride with me. Sometimes when we go swim, they're also doing their thing. Try to be, it's like a family project. And hopefully, I mean, it's good for me, and hopefully it's going to be good for them. It's going to show them something that they can take with them when they grow. So
I think they absolutely will. I think the lessons you've taught your kids through just your actions in resilience and adaptability and mindset is so important. And I really think that kids copy us more than they listen to us, And so if you want to be a good parent, you can't just tell your kids what to do. You've got to show them. And I think that's amazing that we've got the ability to be so influential, right? But it's a double-edged sword, because it means that we can't just say one thing and do something else. We've actually got to prove it in our actions. And I think certainly in the things that you're doing, you're inspiring your kids to live a similar life, right?
You hit the nail exactly. Kids, they see, and like I feel like when they're 2, 3, even like getting into 4, they see, they observe. They don't say anything, but they see and they observe everything parents do, and they don't say anything, and they wait until the right moment. So parents need to be careful. Like, don't, as you said, don't say things and do the opposite, because that
smallest things they copy, right? It's so funny. something, and then you're like, you can have a habit that you just do, and you just find that they start doing it.
Yes. I mean,
you know, you think if they pick up on the little things like that, you know, like we're getting a lot of mosquitoes right now, and I noticed, I'd be like at work like this, and I'd be like clapping like to get a mosquito, right? And then I noticed my son was just watching TV, and he just started doing this, just like whenever he saw he's only 3, and I'm sure he missed the mosquito every time, and I heard him just sort of muttering under his breath, mosquito, you know, and I'm like, this is just like looking at me, you know. Yeah. So you think, well, they're copying them the smallest little habits like that. What are they like? What are they like? If I'm getting mosquitoes and it's triggering me that there's a mosquito in the room and it's upsetting me, right? And then I'm watching it then become a thing that upsets him. What else in our lives, if we take that and we magnify it, right? And it's like, what other big things do we get upset about that actually matter? Not like a mosquito, but actually matter. And our kids pick up on that and copy that. For me, it was just a perfect example of how kids mirror behavior rather than just listen to us.
Well, I start noticing that because I will do things that it's like similar to what your son did with you, but I did with my parents. Like,
right.
I'm like 40 now, and like I will do things like gesture, those tiny things that my dad did or my mom did. Won't know. Those tiny gestures that it's crazy.
I wonder how much of that is nature and how much is nurture, right? Because I feel like you know, when you grow up, your parents are probably 30 or 40. Most of your memories of your parents growing up, when you are watching them doing their parenting, they're like 30 or 40.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people that then they become parents themselves and they're 30 or 40, they start saying things like, I'm becoming my dad or I'm becoming my mum. But I think the nurture aspect is we refer back to memories that we understand of what parenting looks like. And then subconsciously we behave in that way and say, now you're becoming the version of parenting that you saw when you were learning about parenting. And you were actually, a lot of us learning about parenting when we're being parented. And they don't go through a course. And arguably, you know, I feel like we should, as parents, invest in our knowledge of parenting and try to improve it and evolve, not just rely on our own experiences. But it's interesting. And then other things, I'm like, you know, if you've got the same laugh as your dad, or that, you know, you do the same, it's like, I wonder how much of that is just nature.
Yes.
The nature knows to go to nurture buys it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I'll help to make sure that as much as possible, those things that they copy are really beneficial and they're positive, and we do our best to eliminate the negative traits and insecurities and concerns, and you know, the things that we don't want our kids to do.
Yeah, I think the main thing that stick with me is like finding that balance, teaching your kids, because you want to give them love, but also like hold them accountable to things. Like you don't. How I say this, I may sound like a very like strict father, but I'm not. I love my kids. I hug them all the time, kiss them, spend time with them. I try to be as much as possible present with them, but also like finding that balance where you don't get away with things.
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Do you know what happened? I was asked the other day on, I think it was radio, but what was how would I describe parenting in one sentence? And I think what you just said aligns perfectly with what I said. Parenting for me is a balance between protection and empowerment. And if you do too much protection, you do a disservice to your kid, and you actually put them in positions where they're not protected later on because you'll lower their resilience. But if you do too much empowerment, you push them too hard early on, they start rejecting you, and when, as they grow up, they don't want to be pushed hard, and so they actually live a more protected lives themselves. And so if you're somewhere in the balance in the middle, right, normally that's down to teamwork and having a good partner who helps you, and because often the energy is different between the man, the woman, or the partners, whatever it is. One wants to empower more, one wants to protect more. And so between us, we've got this, you know, and I'm sure it's the same for your wife and you as well. You know, it's between you create that right balance. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I think it's very important to have balance. And so my wife, was born in China and grew up in Canada. Actually live here. And when we start first thinking about kids and all that stuff, there was this famous book called the Tiger Mom, something like that. I don't know if you heard of it. It was about like how Chinese parents, like they're very strict in here in America with their kids, like with all this program and all this stuff, like the extra curriculum and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And we were making fun of that, like how are you gonna be? Are you gonna be a tiger mom or what? It's like, but I think so far we try. The balance is everything.
Yeah.
You want the kids to enjoy their childhood, to have fun, enjoy their parents, the love in the family, the presence of the parents, both parents, but also like learning and building the character, like with that, like acquire like being a good member of the family as early on as possible. And I think it's a good mix between the two, and I'm enjoying it. I like, because for example this year is a Paralympic year. I need to be away a few months from home, and we're trying to see how I'm gonna be away in Colorado Springs training, how we can have that time with my family members. Like every night I like have that 10 minutes or 15 minutes like contact, talk about your day and how we can organize that. So trying to plan ahead of things like this where I'm away, they know why I'm away, but I want to do homework with them. I want to do stuff like my two children, they're taking Arabic classes. So I need to do the homework with them even though I'm away, and try to build that structure that things how say this, there is things that we don't, it's good to keep a routine, like beside bedtime, like sleep, like bedtime, story time and all that stuff. Also like education, family connection, like very important for me, like the family connection with the parents, the grandparents, the uncle, the aunties. Even though I live abroad, all my family is in Morocco, I try as much as possible to keep that connection with my and them. I think it's very, very important to grow that social connection with the kids, because having that social network that that your parents are here, you have grandparents, you have aunties, you have cousins, you have all these people that are related to you and they love you no matter who you are. It's very important, and give the safety for the children as they grow up.
Yeah,
I felt all the way like that.
I think that's one of the hardest things about modern society. People are drifting apart more and more. They're moving away. They're not living at home. It's hard to maintain a digital relationship with family members all over the world. Do you know what I mean? Because that's all that a lot of people have in their tools. They could only do Zooms, or do you know what I mean? It's just for expats, I think, but it's so important.
It's not easy. It's like it's a lot of work. Try like if you try to get your son or your daughter like to have a conversation with your parents.
Yeah,
they speak the same language, but you are trying to force it every day.
Yeah,
and it was very challenging in the beginning, but now I see progress like over like years now. Now I can tell them this is your grandpa, and they know how at least have like 2 or 3 minutes conversation, or with your uncle, with your cousin, and that it takes a lot of repetition over and over and over and over. It's not easy, but I think it's good for the children to have that network or that safety net, that I have a family. It's not just my parents. My family is much, much bigger, and they are here for me whenever I need them. And I try to make sure, like, whenever I go to Morocco or go to visit my wife's family, like, I don't care with this is how I grew up. I don't care about like your house, how small it is. I'm gonna go to your house. like my sisters, my parents, we do this. Like I grew up with this, and they know that, and we know that between each other. And I grew up. I didn't have a bedroom. I was just sleeping on one side of the living room. All my sisters. So I know, like, having rooms dedicated to you. It's not something that's important. But and being crowded for 2 days or 3 days in one room, having that moment, having that chaos with family, has different, how I say this, is more powerful, and you build that connection that home is beyond big walls or big rooms. It's the people and the family, and I think it's something.
That's a brilliant message. I think a lot of people lose touch on that as in modern society as life goes on. I think that's a great message to end on. There.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll tell you what, it's been such a fascinating conversation. Really, really inspiring. I feel like we've covered so much. You know, your adaptability, the resilience, the adventures you've been on, the challenges you had, fatherhood, family, education, parenting. Like, I just feel like that we've managed to cover an awful lot. And where can we send everyone so everyone can follow you and get in touch with you and see what's next for you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram mostly. I start TikTok, but I'm not very good. Instagram is my main. Mohammed Lana, straight. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome stuff. Mohammed, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. And I love all the work that you're doing with children around the world, especially in Africa. And keep it on. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed today's Warrior Academy podcast episode. We're going to keep creating these episodes because I know that so many parents find them useful or get insights or get ideas about how to develop their child's character. But it all comes down to the 3 C's: confidence, conduct, and concentration. So if you want to get a deep insight into the levels of confidence your child has, the level of concentration they have, or the level of conduct they have, so that you can actually put a score next to it and then work towards increasing those scores like we do in the Warrior Academy, then I'd love to invite you to fill in the breakthrough area assessment. It takes about 5 minutes of your time, and you will get a personalized PDF report on your child's 3 C's. To access the breakthrough area assessment and find out your child's 3 C's score, all you need to do is go to www.breakthrougharea.com.